Hello, everyone. Welcome to our weekly Zoom lessons on how to use doTERRA essential oils and their products in your life and lifestyle. So today's talk, I'm excited to invite my mother-in-law, Shira Chernoble. She was my first wellness advocate in Israel that ever bring doTERRA and use the doTERRA essential oils in Israel. And now it's big and all over the country and is only going to get bigger, please God. My name is Blattman-Rock. I'm the founder of doTERRA in Israel and had the beautiful opportunity to live there for the last 8 years. Now I'm back in New Mexico to be close to my family for different personal reasons, but I'm excited to build a doTERRA community here as well. So today's talk's going to be about you know, sometimes this topic can feel not as inspirational as some of the other topics, but it is a really an inspirational topic, and Shira is going to share with you why that is. I mean, it's grief and loss and dying, and I like to use the language, and Shira can kind of speak to this, of transitioning, because it really is a transitioning from this life to the next journey that Hashem or universe and higher divine power has for our souls, and how to use essential oils in that process and in that transitional journey for the individual and for the people around them and the environment around them, the caregivers. So I want to introduce and get right into it with Shira. Shira, first and foremost, is the mother of my husband. So thank God she's brought him into my life and into the planet. And my first wellness advocate in Israel with doTERRA. And her background is she's a licensed massage therapist and using touch and the healing effects of touch. And she was the first massage therapist that really I've ever been to that really knows how to use essential oils in her practice in a very therapeutic way, not in a way that just makes your massage smell good, but in a way that really works with the body and what you're dealing with in the body physically or emotionally. And the oil she uses, doTERRA. And then she also has a background in grief and loss counseling, and is, in my opinion, and I'm sure in her opinion, a death and dying professional and helping families go through that process. She'll be first on the scene in those experiences, which is very special. She also is the creator of the Neshama and the Hugs in a Bottle project, and has written 2 books of short personal stories on people's process in grief, loss, and dying. So I'm going to conduct this call like an interview. I'm very excited for this new style. So first of all, I introduced Shira, and I'm going to open it up to her. And my first question for you, Shira, is, I have them written down, so let me get to it, is what really brought you to this path of grief counseling?
Hold on, Kara. What?
Okay.
Peppermint.
And she
has lavender in it too.
her daughter and granddaughter in the background.
Yeah, here's some lavender.
There's Hillel, and she's giving oils as we speak.
That's right. Come say hi.
Come say hi.
Hi.
There's Ruthie and hello.
Hillel has fever, so we're going to use some peppermint and lavender.
Feel better.
Thank you.
Okay, so Shira,
Real
life. So my first question for you, and then I'm going to turn it over to you, is what took you onto this path, or what brought you onto the path of grief counseling and dying and helping people with that journey and that transition?
Okay, so I was born to Holocaust survivor parents, and my whole life was a secret where I came from, what happened to them, what they lived with, my parents, how they grew up. It was never something that was talked about in my family. And particularly with my father, he had a picture of his parents on his dresser, and we never could talk about it, but I used to walk around that picture all the time. Today, I have that picture hanging up by my candles. So silence was part of my life growing up. The unknown was fearful. Dying was definitely related to my life just because of what happened to my family. They ended up, many of them, dying in camps. So as I got older, the whole idea of dying was something that I was interested in because there was so much silence about it. My mother ended up getting cancer when I was about 18 years old, and I was a free spirit hippie girl, and was very aware that she was not well, and I had to drive her back and forth to the hospital for her chemotherapy and radiation. But again, nothing was ever talked about in my house. And I was like, I wanted to know what was going on inside of her, but everything was just fine, except when I saw her crying. And one night I was reading the Life magazine. This is 1949, 59, 69, 67 around, 1967. And there was an article by a doctor called Dr. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross. And she's well known for her work with dying people. She was a physician who was born in Switzerland. And when she had finished some of her training, she went to the camps after they were liberated to see what was there and to see people who were still there. And one of the things that she saw on the walls were butterflies. It was where the children used to be. So she knew that the butterfly at that point was an important symbol to her. But she saw so much dying and was so impressed with people and still wanting to live, particularly children. And so she took that as her life journey. She came to the States, and from there, she started to work in hospitals, and she'd want to work with people who were sick and dying. And the nurses and doctors said, there's no one dying here. But then she talked with the housekeepers and the cleaning people, and they said, everybody here talks about their dying to us. And from there, she began a whole series of work having to do with people and death. So she was one of my mentors, and I went to her workshops, which were at that point in California, and learned from her. I also became a pastoral counselor, which is a spiritual caregiver, working with people with terminal illness, chronic illness, basically anybody who is in a hospital and needs to talk. So that's how I began the journey of dying, of working with dying. My mother did die from cancer, and it was a secret until the last day that she was dying with my sister. And it was always a tragic thing for me that there was so much silence and so much covered up. I knew that that was not the appropriate way for dying. So that was the beginning of my stage with working with people with chronic illness and death.
Oh, I got to unmute myself. Thank you. Amazing. So I'm going to go take us into the next question. So I think that the work that you do is phenomenal. Like, it really is a fraught. Ben and Shira just joined us, and I know that you guys have worked together, being there in a home when someone does make that transition and pass on to the next journey. And it's just, I think, such a special time and such a special place to be part of that. And I really admire that, and I'm inspired by that. And personally, it doesn't bring me fear, and that would be something that I would love to be a part of in the future. But next question is, because this is about oils in this process, is what oils have you found to be most helpful for the individual that's transitioning or beginning their death journey? And not necessarily, we're going to talk about oils that are a part of the process of transitioning and dying, and not necessarily oils that you're working with their particular illness. It's more about the process of dying, correct?
Correct. Okay. So there's two different categories. One is, like Kara's saying, dealing with people going through the process of their dying. And then we'll deal with, I guess, another question will be with the caretaker. So it depends on the person and what they came to see me. There were people that I have worked with over a period of time who were in the process of dying. One of the favorite oils is frankincense. And it is a spiritual oil, but it's a very grounding oil in the sense of where it comes from. Yeah, it's a very powerful oil. It comes from the hottest part of the world, and it grows where nothing else can grow. And it creates a healing. And I'm not just saying it creates a healing of living and dying, and like Kara said, transition from world to the next world because of just the smell of it. It was used in the temple period, the first and the second temple, in the incense burning, and it was used for healing. It was used for bringing God closer into people's lives. And often people who are in this transition state are searching for some more meaning to their life, where they're going, where they've been, and what they want for what remains in their life. So frankincense was one of the oils that was most used, and it was used both in a diffuser, and it was used on direct contact with the person. Because it's such a powerful oil, but a very gentle oil, oftentimes, particularly on the feet, I could just use it straight, neat. So that's one oil that was used. Any citrus oils were also very much loved by the smell, by the smiles it created on people's faces when they smelled them in the air, and again on the body directly. Those were two very important ones. Again, specific conditions like swelling in the legs, I would use rosemary. For pain, I would use deep blue. And again, it depended on the person and the strength of the oil, but mostly I did try to dilute everything, because people who are in that transition state are more sensitive because they're ridding themselves of their body and they're moving to another place. So I made sure that things were gentle. The emotional kit I used a lot for people who were sad about leaving their families. I used a lot of console. And peace. And I use them intertwiningly. I would layer one, and then I would layer the other one. And those I used in the roll-on bottle because it was diluted already.
And you would place that on the feet mostly?
On the feet, on the heart, chest area, on the back, and on the stomach. The stomach is a place of emotions, and it holds a lot of emotions in it. And so I would use those rollers on their abdominal area. The truth is, I could use almost any oil, depending on the emotional state that the person would be coming in. A lot of times breathing was difficult, not so much on a physical level, but on an emotional level, where they felt like they couldn't share what they wanted to talk about to themselves and to their family. And I knew that to open you up on your heart or in your lung area, I use breathe, I use eucalyptus, I use juniper, I used any of the oils that were opening. And that was very, very important. And it was like a grounding because of the tree, but it was an opening as well. So they weren't afraid once they did feel open, because they felt stronger within themselves. And I always love these oils because you can really visualize the tree, you know, the trunk of the tree, the roots of the tree, and then the leaf, or with the pine needles. It goes out, or also peppermint. It all goes out, which means it's opening it up, but it's also grounding from the earth. And it gives people a sense of security. It's about listening. For me, it's about listening to what they say in any manner, in every little nuance. And that would create what I would use in the oils for them. And I would start with one oil for their feet. I'd use another oil for their hands, and different oils for different parts of their body. Again, everything had to do with what they shared with me, which created the use of the oils.
Great. That really, I really connect with that. And so my question around my second question is, because not everybody has like the experience or the expertise that you do, what would be some of the like a few oils that you would tell people to use? Well, first question is, did you see that like your clients were using the oils outside of your work?
Yeah, many of them did. Not all of them, but many of them did, because they saw how much it helped them, and they wanted to share that with their families as well. But they would take some of these oils and they would use them on themselves throughout the week or whenever I would see them next. And then sometimes they'd come back and say, I need something a little bit different. Like they would work with the oils and themselves to create what they were looking for in their transition period and in their relationship with their family, which was sacred for them.
Mm-hmm. And if you had to say, give 3 to 4 oils as like a little death and transitional package, what would be those key oils?
Whew. Well,
I know.
definitely frankincense, definitely lavender and a citrus oil, wild orange for sure, or it could be bergamot. But that you have to be a little careful with the use of it for sensitivity of the sun and skin. Those were ones. I used geranium a lot also. Chamomile was a nice one, but I would try to keep it simple so they wouldn't be afraid of it, because people got overwhelmed. So I would keep it to lavender. I would keep it to frankincense, a citrus oil. Those were 3 that I know went well for people. Not only could they use it on themselves, but they could do it comfortably in the diffuser. So those
Great.
were like just basic oil.
Great. So on to the next question of what oils did you find to be the most helpful for the caregivers that were taking care of the person?
All right, I'm going to just be a little more personal on this level. My husband died 6 months ago. Most of you, I guess, who are on know that. Kara and my dear son and my amazing grandchildren, my whole family was together throughout this whole period of a year and a half. And basically, the whole family was involved in helping me and helping him. But I'm the one who was in the house with him 24/7. So my first concern was to keep my own health healthy, my whole being healthy, and to keep my immune system healthy. And so I did every single morning, which I still do today, is copaiba and On Guard every day, twice a day, morning and evening. And those were
Okay.
two
How are you
oils.
using them?
I used them.
Internally
I
or
took them
topically?
orally. I took them orally, and I still do. I still do. And I believe, including the vitamins that we have in the doTERRA package as well, I believe those are the things that keep me physically strong. Besides, you know, physical exercise and all of those things. But for my emotional being, I definitely use the whole emotional kit at different points of the day. Sometimes I'd have to use the Motivate because I just had no energy and it was hard. And sometimes I had to use Joy just to bring up my mood a little bit. And sometimes I had to use the Console. I have to say that I use the Console today a lot on myself because I know that I'm consoled by others and others help me, but this is something that's my own personal journey. And so I need the consoling that comes like in a circle for me. It's like putting the Console on and consoling myself. It's a combination of both. The oils travel with me, and especially in the first few months, and I would use different ones throughout the day, depending upon what I needed. I'm trying to think, and we'll talk more about the Hugs in the Bottle and the Neshama Oil, because that was the other things that really helped me a lot. But I use grounding oils too. I use vetiver. I don't know. It was like I had bergamot going in my diffuser a lot. And I use peppermint a lot just to awaken myself. And if I was in any physical pain, I use definitely Deep Blue. But
I
the
think
that's about, I mean, I could say I use every oil, but
right.
you know,
But I mean, it's such a great, I mean, it's good that you have the professional experience that you have, but that you can share this question and your answer to this question with a personal experience that you had just 6 months ago, and that you were the caregiver, the 24/7 caregiver going through the emotional piece of your partner dying and just the strain that it also has on you physically to be the main caregiver. Um, and and so it's a real testament to what oils were important for your journey. So again, you said copaiba orally twice a day, and that was like how many drops under, like
2 drops,
two
two
drops
drops, 2 drops.
twice a day. And the On Guard, were you doing it in the oil form or in the soft gels?
No, I did that during the winter time. Definitely took the soft gels because I really wanted to just keep myself as healthy as possible and to keep also the home as healthy as possible. So I used, I guess, On Guard in the diffuser a lot. But now I take the On Guard, just the liquid, and just 2 drops in the morning and 2 drops in the evening for
Okay,
now. In the
with
winter, I'll
copaiba,
probably go back to the soft gels.
soft gels. And then you mentioned the emotional kit, the oils that motivate in the morning, and
Right.
you said joy, but you probably meant cheer.
Yeah.
And peace. I love cheer and peace together. They're amazing.
Right.
You used console a lot. And the one oil that I would think would be used during this time, but you didn't mention, and I don't use it myself very much because I'm not a
Forgive.
big fan of the smell, is Forgive.
I used it not so much for myself, but I have used it with working with families who have lost somebody where, quote unquote, there's no answer why they died, from terrorist attacks to people dying just because somebody
Unexpectedly,
didn't
or
see them on the street. Then I've used Forgive a lot to help them forgive themselves, to forgive whomever they need to forgive, God, whoever it is, yes, then I have.
Yeah, great. It seems like that would be a great one for massaging on the feet of either the caregiver or the person dying for
Right.
any unresolved forgiveness of self or forgiveness of others that they may be going through during this time. So the next question, and then the diffuser, can you just remind us what for yourself, what you had going? You said On Guard and bergamot a lot in the diffuser for
Right.
you and the home.
Right.
Any?
I had a diffuser going in my husband's room for many reasons. One, because he really loved the diffuser, and he just made him feel more comfortable and he could sleep better at night. And I used it for those reasons for him, but I also used it because of the smell just from the cancer and eating up his body. So the diffuser was very, very important to keep going. But it was to keep the immune system, to keep germs away. So I did, again, I used wild orange, I used On Guard, I used frankincense. Yeah. Sometimes I put in breathe because it was difficult for him to breathe, or he had a coughing. That was something that I used a lot as well.
And so that is the next question. What oils did you find best in the diffuser for the caregiver or the home around the transition? And then also the diffuser, you know, that you do recommend a diffuser in the room of the person that's transitioning, and what oils in that. So you said in the room for the person that's transitioning, you recommend wild orange, On Guard, frankincense. I'm sure
Right.
you probably recommend frankincense with every combination.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then for the caregiver and the home around the person, what oils do you recommend in the diffuser?
I guess I would use the same. We had 3 diffusers. We have 3 diffusers in our house. So we had the big one in the living area, and I made sure that we used lemon. I used a lot too because of purifying, or lemongrass also. Peppermint. I couldn't use peppermint in my husband's room because the smell was much too strong for him. So we kept that out of there. But just again, my goal was to keep the germs on as minimal as possible, and to create a well-being in the house of just not sadness. That was really important to me. So the oils were a way of uplifting and calming and healing, because you breathe, the oils penetrate immediately into the brain, and from there they go through the whole body.
Right. So adding oils to that kit for the person, if for everybody on the call and for you as a professional, if you had to recommend a kit for the person that's dying and going through that transition, we said lavender, frankincense, wild orange, or a citrus, and On Guard.
On Guard.
And that could be used in the diffuser, or the multiple ways of using it topically or in the diffuser. That's the kit for the person that's transitioning. And then the kit that's for the caregiver, we said copaiba is absolutely necessary. On Guard also for the caregiver. And then you said bergamot, but it sounds like some kind of citrus. And if they could, the emotional aromatherapy kit.
Right.
And probably, I mean, would you recommend the touch kit over the individual bottles? Because the individual bottles can go in the diffuser.
I know, right.
But the touch
kit. It's a
can't.
mixed thing, because I like to have the roll-on because it's already created there already, and I don't have to sit there and make drops and pour in. But for the diffuser, absolutely, it's easier to have. But you don't, you can have both. I mean, you can have both. It's just, or pick a couple of bottles that you really like and smell them and have them with you, and then you can use it like that. But I know that, again, for people who are in this transition state, it's like it's like dealing with a brand new baby. You're
Mhm.
going through the same exact process. Birth is death. It's
Right.
just the same.
Yeah.
And so you think of a brand new baby, you do not put, you know, a plain oil right on them. You make it so it's diluted. And that's the same with a person who's dying. One is coming to this world, another one is going to the next world. And they need the same thing. They need the same thing. I have to say that my neighbor loved the oils and and used them over a period of 4 years while she was sick. But at the end, her diffuser was the one thing that she kept going all the time. And frankincense was the one oil that she wanted in there continuously. And then it could be a citrus oil as well. And that was with her continuously till she died.
Right.
And yeah.
Amazing. And it's exactly right. Like thinking about what you would get for a brand new baby, like a gift for the mom and the brand new baby, or the gift for the person that's birthing into the next life is a diffuser, lavender, frankincense, wild orange. Like that's good for both the birth into this life and the birth into the next life. Um, On Guard's a little strong for new babies. So if we're considering that for the person that's dying too, I love the new the stronger in the kids collection kit. Totally safe for babies, and it would be totally safe for that immune boosting, immune ability for the person that's transitioning. It's in a touch oil in Europe, but in the US, they just came out with it in a dropper form bottle. So they'll probably come out with it, the stronger, also in that form in Europe pretty soon. But so amazing. So the next question I have for you is, we're going to go into the Neshama oil and Hugs in the bottle. But first, the Neshama oil, because that was created first. What inspired you to create the Neshama oil? And tell us a little bit about its story and its mission.
Okay. 9 years ago, when the Gulf War broke out in the Gaza area, I started to go down there with a friend and do massages on people in Sderot, in nursing homes, in kibbutz, in a child care center. And so I saw what they were under the missile attacks, being there when missile attacks were going off, realizing the amount of stress and fear was in their lives. So what I did is I had small vials and I gave people 5 milliliters of wild orange as presents. I just kind of handed it out to whoever I could. But there was something more inside of me that wanted to do something. And I wasn't really sure what that was. And then I have to say that God gave me an inspiration. Now, it might sound a little corny to some people, but it's really what happened. I realized that I wanted to create something that could be sent to families at that point who were losing their loved ones in this war. And I wanted to do something that I had with my tools. And so the Neshama oil was created because of that. Now the name, I can remember I put it on the Doterra WhatsApp group, and I said, I have an oil that I want to use and to send to families who lost someone, but I need some help with an oil, a name. And I remember thinking of the word Neshama, and then somebody else said I don't remember exactly the other names, but the Neshama one, which means soul, stuck with me. And so that's where the name came from. Now, I did a lot of research on the Ketoret, which is the incense burning in the temple. and what it had done for the people who were at that point around Jerusalem, and before even we were living in Jerusalem, when we were traveling, and how it helped in plagues, and how it created a special closeness to God. And that's what I wanted to do. So I saw what the oils were, what we have that's available to us today, and created a recipe. And I really literally listened to what my inner voice, what God was telling me to do. And that's what I did. And this oil has been distributed all over the world. It's a gift. And the letter comes in Hebrew, it comes in English, it comes in, I think I have it in some other languages as well.
Arabic
somehow I find it, find who these people are. I have a lot of help with Chabad. Just recently, yesterday, I guess, there was some kind of terrorist attack in Venice and Vienna. And I have someone who has family and friends there. She's going to help me find addresses and names. It's just word of mouth, but it's a God project. So I feel that it's God directing where we go. So it comes in this beautiful 5 milliliter roll-on bottle with a sticker that has Neshama on it. Comes in a little bag to make it really pretty. And then it comes with this beautiful letter in, like I said, English or in Hebrew. Well, both in English here. And then the back, I normally have a sticker that explains who I am. Because, who do people know who I am? I'm sending you a gift, but what does that mean? So it explains what I do, and so that they can call me, they can contact me, and not be threatened by receiving some strange present in the mail. And again, what it does is it connects me to somebody else who I might never hear from or never see, but it doesn't make a difference. What's important is they're receiving something that, first of all, I know works, I know is beautiful, and I want them to know they're not alone. I guess that's a theme for me because of so much of my life as a child growing up was alone with feelings. And I don't want that to be there for people in this world today. And so this is one of the projects.
And the Neshama oil is specifically for the person that has lost somebody. That
correct.
And that has actually been kind of the caregiver or the family member of a person that transitioned and died due to illness or a tragedy.
Tragic
loss.
Absolutely.
And how is Hug?
Let me just say one thing. I really love it. I used it on myself for many times with the loss of my best friends who died in a month and a half of each other. I've definitely used it with Jonathan, and I used it in many different ways. I used it on my hands and inhaled, sat there and just breathed it in. I used it on my chest, and I used it on my stomach. And it was a very, very powerful experience. And I have to say that, sometimes I think, oh, nothing's happening. But then as the hours went by, something happened in that day to create a feeling of connection, well-being. And I know it was connected to the gift of the Neshama oil, because it's created with God, and because these oils of their purity created this kind of, I want to say some of it is magic, but it's scientific as well. So I think it's really important that,
And what oils are in the Neshama oil?
okay, it has lavender, it has myrrh, it has frankincense, it has cassia, cypress, cedarwood, cinnamon, wild orange, and something else that is not on the card here is also in the Ketoret that we had gotten. I can't have to look. One more oil.
So does everybody get that? There's your basket of oils.
Yes, and we met.
Spikenard. Spikenard.
Oh,
Spikenard.
spikenard, of course.
Right.
So can you just repeat it one more time, a little
Sure.
bit slower?
Lavender, myrrh, frankincense, cassia, cypress, cedarwood, cinnamon, wild orange, and what I just
Spikenard.
told you.
Spikenard.
Spikenard, right.
Mm-hmm.
I have to tell you that some of these are not in the blend, in the Ketoret, but they're so important that I had to put them in, like wild orange and cypress. They used a cypress wine, which is not the cypress oil, but because of the power of cypress that is used for grieving, and that's what it was known for in the very beginning, in the time before, I put it in there. And cedar wood is what the temple was built from, the wood of the cedar. And so you know in itself that it was a very powerful spiritual healing oil, strengthening oil. So that's what's in it.
Great, amazing.
Can I ask you a question, please? I have a question about the hi. Good to see you,
Yeah.
sweetie. I love. My question is, Shira, you mentioned different ways that you use it on your hands for breathing and on your stomach, on your chest. Does the letter say that? Obviously, the people, not obviously, but most of the people receiving this don't know about doTERRA and oils and huffing and diffusers, etc. So can you tell us a little about that the letter explains to new people options
Okay.
and ways to use it?
Sure, it does say how to use it, absolutely. Okay, it definitely explains what Neshama means, talks about the Ketoret, the incense burning, and it gives my phone number. So people can ask as many questions as they want, or my email. It's all there.
Amazing, great. So we're gonna save questions for the end just because we have like 10 more minutes and then we're going to open everything up to questions. What is the difference? So I have 2 more questions for the interview and then we're going to end. Is what inspired Hugs in the Bottle and how is it different than the Neshama oil?
Hugs in the Bottle was created about 2 years ago when there was a lot of fire bombings down south and people had to go into the shelters a lot. And I remember saying to Hannah Frazen, we need to do something. And so I decided, or we all kind of, it's a doTERRA project. We decided that we wanted to create an oil that would be safe for every age, young, middle-aged, pregnant, old. And we wanted to make an oil that would be comfortable and fun to use. And so Hugs in the Bottle became that. It's a very simple oil of lavender, cedarwood, and wild orange. And it comes in also a 5 milliliter bottle. Now this oil we have sent out as of today, 2,500 bottles.
Wow.
Again, all over the world, to all kinds of different organizations. Right now I'm doing a lot of work with hospice in Israel, and it's been distributed because we used hospice in my home. So the social worker who worked with us, I'm giving her oils and she's distributing to clients all over Jerusalem. My hope, and she's working on it, that this oil will be given to people all over, all the hospices unit all over the country. And again, it's been sent all over the world.
And this oil
for-
is not necessarily for death or someone that
No.
has lost a loved one due to death. It's
Right.
more for any type of traumatic,
Right.
stressful situation that someone's going through. Or
I just had a woman call me today who said that it's helped her with postpartum depression. Postpartum depression. She just cannot believe. I've had people, different comments for both of these oils, where people say, is it a drug? Because it helps them to sleep. It relaxes them. It gives them
lavender
hope.
and
People have
cedarwood and
dreamt.
wild orange. Yeah,
Right.
amazing.
It's given people just this incredible feeling of, again, they're not alone. And to think that we named this Hugs in a Bottle, when we think of the world we're living in right now, where we're not allowed to give hugs to people or to touch people because of the virus, what a gift that we're sending a hug in a bottle. And people really are relating to that now more than ever before. And they understand what it means. It's just mind-blowing for me. And I have to say that Penny, who's the Israel Doterra director, right? That's the correct word. He has really been amazing for me. He has helped me. He has given me oils. Most of this is out of pocket, but it always comes back because that's how tzedakah works. You put it out and it comes back 5 times more. And so this project has worked. It's working. It's unbelievable, and people are hearing about it. It's such a gift. Again, it creates taking away the loneliness.
Amazing. So the Hugs in a Bottle, again, it's lavender, cedarwood, and wild orange, correct?
Correct. And it's in every language. And this one I have in French, German, Russian, Arabic, Spanish, you name it. It's in every language.
And the kind of the qualifications to receive this oil is just, if you're going
anybody
through,
can have it. Anybody can have it.
That's
My
going
dream is the whole world should have it. Every human being on earth should have it for whatever reason.
Amazing. And one of the interesting things about this oil is that I was contacted last year to work on a project and get doTERRA connected to this Healing Hands connected to Springs of Hope. It's working with the Yazidi people, Yazidi refugees that were just massacred in the kind of Syrian area. And there's a woman, an Israeli woman, that's doing Springs of, a whole organization called Springs of Hope. And they wanted doTERRA to contribute to creating the Hope Factory, which is a sewing factory for the women, so that they can create traditional clothing and just all types of manufactured goods to provide for themselves and their families in this refugee camp. And they were also had diffusers and oils in their different therapeutic settings to help with the trauma that these women have gone through. And it was Hugs in the Bottle that they were using, and completely like different. We didn't even know that we were working with the same group at first. And just a little bit on that is that we did, with all of your guys' help, raise money to produce the Hope Factory, sewing factory for these women, and it'll be featured in the Healing Hands magazine at the end of the year for 2020 when they do the Healing Hands recap of everything they did for the year of 2020. So yeah, that project, the Springs of Hope and Healing Hands and me will be featured in that magazine. So that'll be good. I'm excited about that. I just heard about that. And it's connected to Hugs in a Bottle, thank God.
Mazel tov, great work.
Thank you, thank you. When I was doing it, I was like, what am I doing? This is crazy, it's too much work, but I'm glad that we did it. Raising money can be really challenging. Last question, and then we're going to open it up to questions, is you wrote a book, Shira, too, and I kind of equate it to shorts, you know, like a a series of short stories on people's personal story on living this process of their journey and the transition. And the person that's dying and the people around them. And your mission with this book, share with us your mission with this book. And what
The mission of the book is for people, again, not to be alone and to know that the process of dying and the family doesn't have to be terrifying. It can be a really positive, beautiful experience. I know that my husband's experience and mine with him and the family was an incredibly positive experience. There were no secrets. There was a shared relationship between all the children, daughter-in-law, son-in-law. Everybody was part of this process. My husband and I talked about everything about his sickness, his illness, his dying. We both had a dream on the same night that he should stop chemotherapy. Everybody was involved in the family. There was nothing that was kept a secret, but that doesn't happen in most families. So this book are stories of people, many who had died, their family, and my work with them, children's responses to family members who have died, about the project Neshama and the Hugs in the Bottle. It's also songs or poems, either one, that were written about some of these stories. There's journaling. There's a whole journal of my husband and I and his process of his illness, again, with the family, with me and him alone. It talks about, let me, different stories, different people, heart,
and your
my
main
dream of.
and your main intention for this book is what's your main intention with this book?
To give people comfort, to support. So if they're questioning or they're fearful and they don't know what to do with illness, or want to know what illness means, or what about the soul and God, and how do you look at a relationship of living and dying? What can you make of your life? This book helps people to just tune into themselves. You know, you don't have to wait till you're sick or dying to become aware that life is very fragile and that you have an opportunity to make it into a better world and a better place for yourself and your family. And you can question and look at your relationship with a God or a higher power or whatever you choose that makes you or helps you to feel comfortable with the process of living and dying. And this book, I believe, really offers that. And it's interesting. It's even more important now again, because of the world we're living in, because of the insanity of the world and the confusion and the unknown of this little tiny virus that's taking over people's lives. And it's creating a lot of fear. It's talking about fear of people dying, being afraid, what we can do to help people not be so afraid. So my dream at this point, I also think it should be for everybody in the world, but you know, okay, let's start with one book at a time. When I sell it, and it comes with 2 hugs in a bottle, one for you and one to give away. And
Great.
And that's what I do. And it's
Amazing.
I love the picture, and I have to tell you, Kara, it reminds me of the Rio Grande.
Yeah.
That's why I saw it. It's got this feeling of the Rio Grande behind it. You'll get a copy in your next box.
The Rio Grande is the river in Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Right.
It means big river.
And
Rio
I just want to say,
Rio Grande.
the eagle is, there's a real beautiful story. Can I just share this quickly for 1 minute? When my granddaughter Hannah had something in her school, and I think it was grandmother and granddaughter day or something, they had this special activity. And one of the activities was to take a psalm, one of the psalms that was read, and do a project. And one of the things I realized was this psalm was the same psalm that my grandfather her great-grandfather gave my father in a siddur, in a prayer book, before he left Germany, and he was killed in the camps. And my father was the one person to survive in his family. So it's from Psalm 91, and it talks about the eagle. And so this is the eagle over the Rio Grande River, and then the hills behind it, or the trees behind it. It's just such a vision for me of being there so many times and not far from your house.
Great. So show us, we can't see the, show us the cover one more time before we go. There we go. And the psalm is on there.
What is the name of the book?
Heart to Heart Healing.
Mm. And how can we get, how can we purchase that?
Okay.
From
Through
you?
me. Through me.
Yeah.
I can contact you. Okay.
Yeah.
Great. So before we go, I'm going to end the recording, and please stay on if you have any questions for Shira. Thank you so much for being here. This is such a sensitive and tender and beautiful topic, and I hope that you learned as much as I did about what oils to use for yourself or your loved ones that are going through this beautiful process and journey of transitioning into the next journey. So thanks for being here, and we'll see you soon.